Hey guys, welcome back. It is another KSP Let's Play. We're just going to be goofing off again. I've got a couple more just kind of goofing off Let's Plays I want to do in KSP before we actually get into the like career mode and go through all that. So we did the Blackbird. That's probably my favorite airplane to fly. And the reason, if those of you who actually watch the channel often will see that I've already done a couple other, I think, well, either 2 or 3 Let's Plays with the Blackbird, and I just changed the name of those videos on YouTube actually because this is called the SR-71, the other one's technically called the Blackbird, and so the videos used to be called SR-71 Blackbird because that's what the real airplane was, but I changed them to just Blackbird because this is the SR-71. So we've got 2 of the same engines actually that are on the Blackbird, these Whiplash turbo ramjets here, and then we've also got this rocket motor in the back, the Dart liquid fuel engine. So we've got oxidizer up here. Now the one thing that I've noticed, well shoot, let's just go do it. So the first, you just hit space or all stage, so they'll start up. I was going to say the first stage just is these 2, but actually all 3 of them do fire up. The jet engines just take a second to look like it before the flames start shooting out, you know. Alright, so we got 50, 60 meters per second, 70 meters per second. I'm pulling back, pitching up, 90 meters per second. It doesn't turn on the ground very well. 110 meters per second. And it's going off the runway. I can't seem to get it back on the runway. Okay, so 120 meters per second. Oh, crap, SAS, help me. This is pretty unstable. So, and we are going to pull the gear back up. So gear's coming up. And we are flying. Now, I can shut this engine down, actually. And so it's just going on these 2, and we're still speeding up down here. As you can see, we've got 131 kilonewtons of thrust, and that is going down because we're not picking up speed as fast as we're gaining altitude. So if I tip the nose down here for a second, just let it pick up some speed, the thrust is going to go up, just like the Blackbird, because like I said, these are the same engines. So if we fire this back up, though, because I don't want to sit here forever waiting, the liquid fuel and oxidizer are draining out of the front, and then it'll work its way back. So for those of you who know about airplanes, basically the farther back the center of gravity is, which is happening because it's getting lighter up front, so the center of mass is moving back, the more unstable the aircraft is. Now the farther forward, the worse your performance. You know, your airspeed goes down, you know, things like that. Mostly the airspeed goes down. But it's not quite as maneuverable either because it's super stable. It doesn't want to move. Whereas with the airspeed, with the center of gravity all the way back here, like it is now, it'll move around all the time. Or as it's, I'm sorry, I said as it is now, but as it's moving back, it's going to get more and more unstable, which is great for performance until it gets so unstable you can't control it. Actually, I was in a ground lesson today with my instructor, and the lessons at this point, because I'm almost a commercial pilot, are not so much lessons as much as just quizzing to see if you've got all your knowledge down. And he goes, so you've got an AFCG and you take off. What's that going to do? And I was going to say, AFCG is great until it's really not great. And that's kind of what it is, because as the CG moves back, your speeds pick up, your maneuverability increases, but as soon as something goes wrong, like a stall, it's harder to get out of the stall. If you go into a spin, which I'm not sure KSP can actually accurately simulate, certainly not in this, I'm sure. But I'll try to do that maybe in a future video. It's super hard to get out of that spin, or you might go into a flat spin where it's just nose follows the tail, and there's really no aerodynamic forces anymore. You can't control anything, and it just will spin into the ground until you die. So, ultimately, not great. But okay, so it's happening right now. As the nose gets lighter, oh, it just happened, I think. Yep, we're done. Look at that. As the nose got lighter, it was starting to pitch up, and I pushed down, and it's done. So normally, like, if there was a bunch of weight in the nose would start falling. Now this is not a rocket necessarily, because a lot of people think if you put the rocket engines at the top and launch it, it'll just stay down, the pendulum effect they call it, but that's not actually true because gravity's affecting the whole thing the same way. The only thing that comes into play with is aerodynamically, because all this is producing lift. As the center of gravity moved back, the nose was producing lift, or the wings were producing lift at the center of lift, which didn't move, so the nose came up. Once it came up so much, it was uncontrollable, or actually when I tried to push it down, it became uncontrollable at that point. And so I'm just, all the weight's in the back, and it's just doing this, just doing its thing. Yeah, that's really all she wrote about this. I'm just going to watch it crash. Let's cut the engines. We were slowing down, and we were again when I turned the engines back on. But yep. So we're done there. Let's revert flight. Alright, so yeah, that's basically what happens if you get the fuel out of the front. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to shut off the fuel in the front 3 tanks, we'll say. Fuel and oxidizer, because it's really... these ones aren't burning fuel. This whole thing is full of fuel, essentially. So these two are not really burning fuel at a fast enough rate that would have caused that to be an issue that soon. So we're going to shut off the first 4 tanks, actually. Is there any in the... No, that's monopropellant and electric charge. So I didn't actually build this plane. Just flying it because it's cool. So we got the first 4 tanks are all blocked off. So this engine is actually going to pull out of this tank and this tank, ideally. So let's hold the brakes, start the engines, and we'll actually deactivate this engine real quick and let those other 2 spool up so it's not burning fuel unnecessarily. Which I doubt we're going to run this thing out of fuel anyway, but may as well. So may as well save fuel, not running out of fuel. Alright, so we're 100 kilonewtons, so let's fire this thing and let off the brakes. We are moving off like a herd of turtles. Now, whoever designed this put this large landing gear up there, and I don't think it can actually steer. No. Okay, so yeah, I'm trying, I'm yawing, I'm rolling, and I'm pitching up and everything, but it's just not happening for me, so we're basically going to go off. But there's 120, which is where it picked up last time. 123, it goes from, like, stuck on the ground to up we go. Alright, so gear up. Let's bring this thing up here. Now, this is actually going to fly, hopefully, much longer. Let's give it time accelerate to 4 times, and just basically watch her climb up here. So, again, now we're pulling fuel and oxidizer out of the back, which means it's going forward, which means in a real airplane, I don't know so much about this one, it's going to, the airspeed would drop, but the stability would be increased. So that's probably about to die as this runs out of fuel, this rocket engine. Yep, she's gone. So let's unlock these 2. And it's already sucking those down. Just got a little bit of oxidizer left. We could actually, shut that off for a second and burn for just a second before it burned out this oxidizer back there. So we're climbing up through 15,000 feet. Oh, hello. I should probably not be maneuvering at 4 times acceleration. So I'll put the nose down. And I'm pretty sure at this point we've already surpassed where it was last time. Now this is not nearly as maneuverable or as stable, come on baby, there we go, as the Blackbird is. So the Blackbird's definitely probably my favorite plane. And it would go faster than this too. Oh, it ran out of fuel, that's why. The Blackbird actually goes faster than this. Well, I haven't given it time to speed up, but the Blackbird would go about 12 to 1,400 meters per second. So it's about the same speed, I guess. But this one is so much bigger. But we're still picking up speed, so these engines are performing very well. It's so much bigger that it probably is going to take more fuel to do all that. So yeah, here we are. Oh, it's heating up. Let's pull the throttles back to 50%, slow this bad boy down a little bit here. Now I know for sure if I just pull straight up, it won't do that kind of UE that the Blackbird did. So the SR-71, again, in real life, hopefully you're not getting confused. In real life, the SR-71 and the Blackbird were the exact same thing. And in KSP, I mean, the model's kind of the same as well, but one is called the Blackbird, this one is called the SR-71. So just for the sake of keeping the 2 KSP models apart, I'm going to call one Blackbird, one SR-71. And this is the SR-71. So we're finally slowing down enough to where we're not getting those, we're not in danger of blowing up the plane anymore. So not very maneuverable compared to the Blackbird. So I'll roll it all the way 90 degrees. Oh, come on, work with me, SAS. Don't work against me. There we go. Alright, so now I'm yawing, or I'm pitching all the way up. And in the Blackbird, it just whipped right around. But this thing is taking a while. So let's turn the rocket back on, because we're losing speed pretty good. So if we turn that rocket back on, hopefully that'll help. I can't even see the Space Center. Oh, it's probably because it's over there. That's that island thing, so... let's tilt it up a little bit and give it some yaw. Maybe that'll help. Nope, not really. Man, this is slow. Let's see if we can time accelerate at times 2. It's just not wanting to turn very well. Daggone. Is it too fast, maybe? Oh, hello. Oh, that's because I'm times 2, probably. Man, this is not going well. Let's shut down those engines, see if we can turn faster with it slower. Normally, it's the other way around. The faster you go, the more aerodynamic forces are on it, so you can turn harder, but let's see. Maybe I'm just banked over. Well, no, that shouldn't make a difference. Man, this is taking forever. I'm not having it. Let's crash. Let's crash. One nice thing about that rocket engine is it's immediately responsive, so the jets do take a minute to spool up. And they're finally at like 45 degrees nose down. The gravity was helping us accelerate more than our flight control surfaces were slowing us down. I don't know if you guys saw that, but passing through about 45 degrees on the nose down, our speed started picking up a little bit. So this, like the Blackbird, has so many control surfaces on the back. Once you move them all, they act like flaps and will temporarily slow you down. Alright, let's pretend like we want to live now. So we'll shut down those engines. Pull up! Efren and Rama. Come on! I believe in you! Well, my beliefs were misplaced. Let's try to land this thing. Okay. Okay, so I just resync the audio because sometimes when I restart that messes things up. So let's get it to be the day again. It's like sunrise. Okay, there we go. All right, let's see if we can do a landing on this with this thing. All right, 10 meters a second. Here we go. Full throttle. All engines. Maximum power. Give her all she's got, Captain. Give her all she's got. I'm giving her all she's got. That's what I just told you. What are you on about? All right. Now, put some whiskey in the fuel tanks. It'll thin down the mix. Give us 50 more RPM. It's a jet engine, sir. Well, do it anyway. Okay, SAS on, gear up. Let's turn this bad boy around. See, it's turning much nicer now. So yeah, maybe like 100 meters per second is where the turning should happen. Yeah, maybe it's just too fast to turn. Which can happen, I guess. Obviously, because it did. Alright, so we are going to want to stop the liquid fuel coming out of the front 2, 3. We'll let it come out of the back 3. Or the back 2. Well, yeah, 1, 2, 3, but this one's kind of a weird one. Okay. So we're abeam the numbers now. Any private pilot will appreciate that. I'm going to pull back to 1500 RPM, 10 degrees of flaps. Freaking, what would it be? Kerbal Space Center traffic. This is SR-71, left base for runway 09. SR-71, this is KSP Tower. Go ahead and line up. Clear to land for 29. Let us know when you turn final. SR-71, we've turned final for runway 09. Alright, SR-71, you are cleared for land. Runway 09. Cleared for land, runway 09. At this point, the private pilot student is looking towards an instructor. With panic in his eyes, the Earth is coming at us. What do we do? Ephraim down here. Oh, well, they're both freaking out, so that's not great. Alright, let's bring the throttle back. About 123 was when she lifted off, so the stall speed is probably somewhere around 80, maybe? Probably something to figure out before I did this. Uh-oh, I can't really pitch it down very well. Alright. This looks bad. Gear up, flaps up, full power. That's not the order you do that, by the way. You go full power, probably then flaps up, then gear up. I don't know, I haven't flown a retract gear yet, but I'm assuming gear's probably the last thing you want up, unless it's the first thing you want up, because it is making a lot of drag out there. But you definitely want the flaps. If the flaps are in full, that's not helping. So you want to bring them up to like 20 degrees or something, especially in a small plane. But power full is the first thing, because that takes a second to wind up anyway. Power full, and you can, unless it's a hot day in like an old Cessna with 40 degrees of flaps, the new ones only go at 30 degrees, but 40 degrees of flaps was so much with full power, with any kind of weight, and a, you know, kind of a warm day, she was not going to climb, even with full power, if you had all the flaps in there. So basically, jam the power in and bring the flaps up to 20 simultaneously is how aerodynamically it should be done. And then if you're actually out of flight school, whatever they tell you is the right way. Just do what they tell you, and then if you're going to be an airline pilot anyway, then they'll teach you how to fly. Oh, well, not really how to fly. It's really a shame what's happening to the flight schools in America and stuff. Depending on which one you go to, they don't actually teach you how to fly. They just teach you procedures, and then without your procedures, you're lost. You don't know what to do. Such a shame. Basically, get your pilot's license. It's a great time. It really is. I know as much as I talk about all the problems with it. There's problems in anything that you do, but flying is super fun. Highly recommend. Okay, let's swing it round. Kind of on a base leg here. We're super close, and this doesn't turn very well. Maybe I'll do a like a simulated flight lesson or something in a small KSP plane, but right now I'm just trying to land this sucker. So I've never landed it, actually, and the first time will be while recording. It's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be a great time. Alright, get that nose down. Let's give her some throttle. Actually, I'm gonna shut down that engine because I feel like it's cheating. It gives you instant thrust at whatever you want, whereas these engines are kind of fun because they need to spool up, like the old turbojets. Like, Delta 238, go around. I mean, like, alright, we put the throttles in 5 minutes ago, so we should be picking up any second now. It's not actually that bad. It was about 10-second delay from, like, oh crap, go around, full throttle, and then those old turbojets with no fan on the front took probably, oh shoot, I don't know, 8 to 10 seconds to spool up, but that's a long time. I mean, count that off. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, now they're probably starting to kick in a little bit, 6 Mississippi, 7 Mississippi, 8 Mississippi. Okay, so now you've got, oh, scheisse, gear down. Landing gear, please, I need that. Oh no! See, that's why you shouldn't, be having casual conversation on final approach to a runway. It's not ideally what you want to do. But everybody survived. The runway did not. Anyways, so yeah, they would take like 8 to 10 seconds to spool up, but the new ones is like probably a 3 to 4 second delay, because you have to remember that the core of the actual power producing part of a modern jet engine, where it's a turbo fan, where there's a big fan in the front, that's actually the part that you see, like the next time you fly on Delta or Alaska or any airline, you're on a 737 or whatever, that thing in the front is actually a fan, and that's not actually producing power, it's producing thrust, but the actual fuel burning part is on the inside of the jet. And that's running, even at idle, usually around 50 to 60%, so in flight, flight idle is probably somewhere around 70%, so it's already pretty wound up. So going 70 to 100% is not that big of a jump. So you probably got like 4 second delay, between probably a 2 and 4 second delay, I would assume. Whereas those old ones, when you went flight idle, the actual engine core was at idle. I mean, it was, down to 20% or whatever, or maybe it was higher, but it wasn't, you were actually having to speed up the engine core, the power producing part of the engine. That's why it took so long. Alright, we're going to try this one more time. 18-minute recording, good lord, I'm having a great time. Hopefully you guys are entertained. Alright, we got 180 meters per second. We'll pull the throttles back to about half there and shut down this engine. Oh shoot, I should have done this. Alright, we're actually going to turn this engine back on then to see if we can stabilize a little bit. We're going to shut off the fuel and oxidizer all the way to the back so we can burn out this tank, and hopefully that'll help us a little bit with some stability, because this tank is empty up front. So we'll burn out this tank, maybe burn out that tank, I don't know. Let's give it full power to really burn out this. Or burn this out. Burn out this, yep. Don't end a sentence with a preposition. Alright, let's flip it around. This turned pretty well. See what I mean about the stability thing? So that front tank is empty, which made us a little bit more unstable, but it is turning better now. That also might have to do with the airspeed and altitude type of thing. Everything's just intertwined when you're flying around. Oh, shoot, we should be turning final about now here, so lined up for runway 90. I think I was calling it 09 earlier, but it's definitely 90 east. That's when they were like, you see a movie and they're like, he was cleared to land on Alpha 4. Nope, that's not how runways work. Runways are, in case you're wondering, the first two. So if this runway was, the actual heading was like, wait, what am I thinking of? No, it would be 09. Yeah, because it's the first two. So like if it was 270, which is 09 reversed, if we were coming that way, then the runway would be 27. And this one is 09. Yeah, we're good. Let's land this puppy. Engine's at idle. Come on! Super unstable! Just rolls. Once it starts rolling, it's hard to get it to stop rolling. Okay, there we go. And brakes. Maximum power on the breakage. And there's no reverse thrusters. Come on. I should probably scroll in. Maybe that would help. 200. Come on, dang it. Oh, we're only going 30 meters a second now anyway. I'm not sure it'll matter much. There we go. Yeah, just in time to stop. I finally got those brakes set. Only took us a whole runway. Cool. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. You know, like and subscribe and all that.